there, we are back with another game review where we're gonna give you some straight up gameplay and our first impression of the latest game. And as usual, it's me Salahuddin101 and today we're gonna talk about A Plague Tale Requiem. Now of course, I've been playing this game for review on my PC and this is all PC footage. And just so you know, it's all spoiler free. Everything I'm showing you is pretty much early in the game, and because there is a lot of awesome stuff that I don't want to spoil it for you. So here we go. But first things first. This is a sequel to 2019 Super Studio, A Plague Tale Innocence. Call it ironic, but this is the first game I have played on my new PC that I have built and one of my favorite games that I have played during pandemic. So when I say the sequel is also pretty impressive and it exceeded my expectation, if you're like me who loves an incredible adventure and emotional ride story games, A Plague Tale Requiem is absolutely worth it. Now you all might be wondering this question in your head, do I need to play the first game before this one? I would say yes because of my OCD, but there are going to be someone arguing that Requiem is a whole new story and a new adventure. Whatever happened in Innocence would be all connected and much better in Requiem. Well, it's a game, so I would say enjoy however you want to play the game. Let us recap. Amicia, a young girl, brother Hugo have been through a lot in A Plague Tale Innocence. In 1340 France, with millions of people dying and massive, almost fantasy-style swarm of killer rats destroying everything in their path, Amicia learns to kill, does whatever it takes to save her brother, who turns out to be pretty special, escaping from plague rats and the Inquisitors. Requiem picks up 6 months after the events of Innocence, with some of the characters picked up in the first game, their mother, Lucas, the two siblings, Amicia and Hugo, fleeing south looking to put their horrors of their first adventure in the 14th century France behind them. The original Plague Tale was centered on the losing of innocence for the De Rune children, then the sequel is all about wrestling with the guilt that comes with their action and the demise of each enemy soldier.
I don't know what's happening to me, Lucas. I feel my mind going.
Amicia and her objective weighs heavily on her mind. This ain't too different from her reaction to killing in the first game, but this time around there is more magnitude. Amicia, with great range of emotions, expressing mainly anger, halfway through rage overcomes Amicia, showing her in a complete different light than we have ever seen before. It was a display of pure violence unseen before in A Plague Tale.
This is how it works now. I set the rules.
Enough! The army's honor's in our hands!
No! It's in mine now! You're dead! You're goddamn dead!
I was surprised with the complete lack of remorse on Amicia's part, who snarls as each rock snaps through the air and revels at the demise of enemy soldiers. Her newfound acceptance for what she believes is a necessary course of action is reflected in her new tools. At her disposal, a hefty crossbow can now be used to take down enemies, including armored soldiers, that your sling's projectiles would merely bounce off it. It takes a couple of seconds to wind up, this 700-year-old weapon being operated by a teenager after all, but packs a hell of a punch. When unleashed, the crossbow bolts can be combined with materials to cause even greater effect. As any type of ammunition, such as rocks, throwable pots, some of these alchemical mixtures will be familiar to those who have played Innocence. Ignifer and Extinguisher, which lights up and put out the flames respectively, as well as some of the newer ones, launching towers into burning flames, increasing the radius of the light source temporarily, providing potential solutions to one of the game's many puzzles. It also has its use in combat, luring enemies into a pool of it before setting them ablaze with the nearest throwable ignifer. There are over 20 different combinations of materials and ammunitions to play around within Requiem, and it made all the easier to manage them with improved crafting, and weapon wheel switching is smoother. And in fact, you can now have unlimited rocks to hurl at all times. Quite frankly speaking, now I don't have to hunt for rocks here and there for the duration of the game. It's not just Amicia that has new toys to play around with though. Her little brother, Hugo, is now able to flex his special relationship with France's ongoing rat infestation. Borrowing from other stealth action games like Hitman or the Batman Arkham Asylum series, an Echo ability allows you to pinpoint enemies through walls at a quite long distance, alongside with the Imperium ability that allows Hugo to control rats has been vamped up. No longer do you target where you would like the rat to swarm in from a third party perspective, but instead you take your position inside the pack and hunt down your prey by directly controlling the tidal wave of rodents. It's much more satisfying way to unleash a horde on your enemies, with the result being quite vicious, as rats overwhelm and consume foes so quickly that the echoes of their screams outlive them. Once again, like the first game, the environment is shockingly gorgeous, detailed, and gruesome. Characters are detailed, more lifelike this time around, and specifically the two main characters. You get to see countryside, coastal islands, and small cities. The sequel is set in an area of France where you get to see a glimpse of civilization before the plague has its full impact. One of the locations I saw allowed me to wander the bustling streets full of welcomes and some unwelcome sounds and sights of a butcher district, while more generally pleasant surroundings, rolling fields, and a jovial campsite. Some of the Requiem's combat locations are cavernous by comparison. They now feel like there are numerous interesting options in each area rather than only one way of dealing with a group of enemies. The influence of Last of Us was clear to see in Innocence. These large combat areas and the way you sneak around them reminds me of heavily of 2020 Part 2. When I first started playing the game, the most captivating part of the game was the music. Olivier Derivière once again returns to perform gorgeous melodies and aggressive strokes on his many medieval instruments. In addition to those familiar sounds from the first soundtrack, Olivier added two more musical elements to the music for Requiem. The first is a medieval bagpipe linked to a new character in the story, but the second element is the introduction of a choir. I already loved the main theme from Innocence, but the choir elevates this piece to the next level by singing verse to the gorgeous melody, as can be heard in A Plague Tale Requiem. The music for A Plague Tale Requiem is more smooth and beautiful than Innocence. Not only the choir is responsible for that, with many stunning tracks in the back half of the album, here are some of my favorite tracks. The first track is A Plague Tale Requiem, the second, A Beautiful Morning, third, No Turning Back, fourth, Love and Friend, and my favorite, Brother. You can listen to or buy the soundtracks on all usual platforms. I already love the music from the first game, and the soundtrack for Requiem is even better. You might be thinking, this game is perfect and this game has no issues. Well, when I first started playing the game, after it was launched on PC, there were problems earlier, such as that performance is not great. Let me show you. The footage you see on the screen here, like I said, is captured on my PC, and the frame rate is certainly not 60 FPS. It is all over the place, sometimes dropping pretty low when a lot is going on the screen, to the point where I haven't seen this in a game in a minute. Mind you, this happened pretty early in the game. The game still looks really good, but it tended to stutter all over the place. Now, it wasn't unplayable by any means for me. Personally, I had games where it is. It's not the case here, but it was a little disruptive here and there. To be honest, I was a little disappointed with these technical issues, but otherwise, it's a gorgeous game. While I can't shake the feeling, it all seems very familiar. And not necessarily the giant leap forward that some may be expecting of Requiem, but it does at the very least appears to be refining an already successful formula. Whether it all comes together to take Plague to the next level is still to be fully seen. In short, this game is pretty damn good. After all, a game becomes truly special in the eye of this gamer when it can provoke thoughts and emotional tugness that persist long after the credit rolls. And A Plague Tale Requiem is one of them. I played Requiem 3 times now, and I really felt it the last 2 times, and particularly because this game sets up an ugly world in which good people must do bad things for good intention, and all of this can be emotionally draining you. In many ways, this approach in game development makes players question themselves in a virtual setting if you were in their shoes, which I believe are helpful in progressively building our emotional intelligence and capacity as people in general. So, despite the emotional turbulence of it all, these are the kind of games that this review personally resonates with the most. And A Plague Tale Requiem stands tall in this purpose, and my game rating for Plague Tale Requiem is. Just want to say thank you for watching and listening, and leave a like and a subscribe. We're gonna see you next time. Peace out, everyone.